Brian and Kelly Estes are writer, director, executive producer, married couple of the new film God Bless Bitcoin. Thank you both so much for your time today.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about how this film came to be. And I mean, it's such a great explanation for maybe someone who's heard the term, but maybe is curious as to far as how it all works or, kind of the inner workings of it.
Yeah, so Bitcoin is complicated. When I first learned about it 10 years ago, I didn't understand it either. I thought it was a scam. And so the purpose of the movie is to help educate people on what Bitcoin is, because only about 1% of the world understands it today. So we took 10 years of knowledge and tried to compact it into an 89-minute movie.
And the movie's free to stream, godblessbitcoin.com, so that people can go ahead and check it out. And especially, it's making news as far as the upcoming presidential election. Both Bitcoin, crypto, like this, these are terms that are now just coming into maybe a demographic of people who maybe have not heard the term or have not been as familiar with it.
Right. And so I think now that it is on the political stage and it is in the hands of our candidates, it's more important now than ever to understand what Bitcoin is and how it works so that you can judge for yourself on um, that vein whether or not you agree with that candidate's policies on Bitcoin. So I'm hoping our movie just opens the door to understanding, and then people can go study for themselves a little bit more.
And one of the topics that we get to see a lot about in the film is about inflation and, people working multiple jobs and people trying to attain the same amount of things, but being able to afford less and less in them every single year. And sometimes you think, I think from a personal level, you think of those things internally, like, what am I doing wrong? What am I not budgeting? What is happening within me? And not realizing it's bigger than you of like what's happening with inflation and around the world.
Right. And that's something that really has bothered me. I've worked for the last 15 years with students who have grown up in generational poverty and live at the poverty level. And their parents are working two, sometimes three jobs. And I've heard so many times, I don't know how to get ahead. I don't know what's wrong with me. What am I doing wrong? Well, it's not. And it's the system that you have inherited that is wrong. So I think having this movie there to explain exactly how the dilution of our purchasing power is happening will open people's eyes and then hopefully spur them to look at another alternative to create a store of savings for themselves.
Where do you see Bitcoin and crypto kind of moving towards in the next like couple of years as far as maybe using it to buy a house, buy a car, as far as that kind of becoming more commonplace versus maybe just a thought in people's minds?
Yeah, so Bitcoin's original purpose was as a electronic payment system, but because the IRS taxes it as property, we really can't use it for payments in the US because every time you do, you have to file a tax return whenever you spend it. So really the default here in the United States is Bitcoin's used as a savings account. So you use your dollars as your checking account and use your Bitcoin as your savings account. So whenever you just get a little bit of extra dollars, you could use Venmo or PayPal or Robinhood or Fidelity or Schwab and put a little bit of money into your savings and convert that into Bitcoin. And because it can't get diluted by money printing, it's the best form of savings humans have created.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the talent and some of the celebrities that are in this film because you talk to a lot of people and a lot of people of power and influence.
We hired an Emmy nominated filmmaker to help us make this movie because we've never made a movie before. And so, yeah, we do have some high profile people in there. We have John Sally, Mark Cuban, Tony Hawk, Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We have Bitcoin experts in the movie. We have a presidential candidate, Robert Kennedy, in the movie. And Kelly found a lot of most of the religious leaders.
Right. So those maybe are not as well known to people, but they are experts within not only their faith, they're also experts in economics. So they understand how Bitcoin is a more moral and ethical form of money than our current dollar in the United States is.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially the film, especially the first couple of minutes you start watching it, you get a better glimpse, especially maybe if you've heard, like I said, maybe you've heard the term, maybe you're hearing it more in the news cycle because of things going on with the election. But this really gives you a great overview of why it is, why people are investing in it, like the whole run of it. So I think anyone who might be interested, this is definitely the film to go ahead and check out.
Well, thank you. That
Thank
was the
you.
goal. The goal was to just give people a basic understanding so that they could go out and research it more on their own.
Yeah, and the Bitcoin community gave up their time to make this movie. So this is a Brian and Kelly movie. This is a Bitcoin community movie to help educate people about the system.
And obviously, you hear the ups and then you also hear the downs as far as, scams that people might become victim of. Maybe a quick message to some of those people is, they might get super excited, but just to maybe be a little cautious as far as where they are, paying their attention to.
100%. There are a lot of scams out there, so be very careful. So Bitcoin is really the only true use case for blockchain technology today. All the other ones are experiments. Bitcoin is very volatile when you compare it to dollars, but one Bitcoin always equals one Bitcoin. So you just have to take your time, understand the volatility, but the volatility is the feature of Bitcoin that allows you to gain value in the future, because this asset is going through what's called price discovery. The world is trying to figure out, what is this technology worth? Some people say it's worth zero. Some people say it's priceless. And because of that, you get a lot of volatility in the price. So it's just, but over time, as more and more people understand this, that volatility will smooth out.
Wonderful. Brian Kelly, thank you so much for your time today. GodBlessBitcoin.com, where you can go ahead and check out the film.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Have a great day.
Thank you,
You too.
Eric.
Thank you.